Hey guys, similar to Carsten Drunkwist, one of my favorite YouTubers, I wanted to make a video where I talk about the movies that I watched in a month. And I wanted to keep it a little different. Instead of talking about everything that I watched would be boring. So I thought I would talk about the films that I liked or loved and what I think would be worth your time. And mind you, I am not spoiling any of the films I'm going to be talking about. And without further ado, let's begin. Wolf of Wall Street. I can never expect anything less from the man Scorsese himself. It isn't too dissimilar from his previous movies, where we see the rise of a flawed protagonist who makes morally questionable choices, and in the end, we see him suffer for the consequences of his actions. This film is brimming with so much energy that it's hard to believe that Scorsese was 71 when it came out. Characters sometimes even break the fourth wall, talking to the audience, and are self aware that most of us have no idea about the technicalities of what he's talking about. Slow motion is used effectively to put us into the perspectives of the characters, mainly when they are taking drugs. The protagonist, Jordan Belfort, is a despicable person, but he never ceases to be an interesting character. This is just Scorsese doing what he's damn good at, and it works like a goddamn charm. A silent voice. This is a tough one to watch, especially because of the subject matter it deals with of bullying and suicide. The main characters have their own personal battles to overcome and deal with, how their actions and experiences have shaped them into who they are today, and how their past has caught up to them. This depth and nuance to mainly the two protagonists of the film who are both intertwined with each other because of their past. I began to deeply care for them and their personal struggles, and I do have some minor issues with the film, but I wish the side characters were a little more developed or served a sense of purpose. But despite all that, this film left me into a sobering emotional mess. The Lego Movie. This is easily one of the best animated movies ever made, no doubt. It follows the classic hero's journey story module, which makes the beat of each act in the film perfect. But the animation is simply beyond my wildest dreams because the Lego characters in the film feel believable when interacting. It also feel like toys because of the minute textures that make them feel manufactured. And the attention to detail is simply impeccable. The way it balances seriousness and humor is pretty difficult to pull off, and the makers of the film do it successfully. Emotionally, too, the film just works on every level. It's a film about believing in yourself and having the strength and mindset to believe that you are unique and special. And after this, Sony Pictures Animation put out two more masterpieces like Spider-Verse and Mitchell's vs. the Machines, so I now have belief in the company that they hopefully won't disappoint with their next venture into the cinematic landscape. Fight Club. This is a fan favorite of mostly every cinephile. This was my third time watching it, and it is just as great as it was in every other watch. Probably in my top 5 best David Fincher films, I love the theme it communicates about the negative effects of consumerism and how we let it become a part of our identity. Now, it isn't very subtle about how it communicates this theme, but it just works. Visually, too, the film looks dirty and grungy. The grim and filthy look makes us understand why the main characters would make the choices that they make. It's a film about men who are tired of their lives, who have felt inadequate and incomplete for who knows how long, and how through Fight Club it is almost an emotional release for them. The twists and turns in the story never detract from its main point, and Fincher's direction elevates its written material. A cult classic worthy of countless rewatches. I have watched RRR thrice in theaters and I think it's a masterpiece. So yeah, go fight me. I already have a video on it, so you can watch that if you are interested in knowing my thoughts. I also rewatched The Batman 2 more times after seeing it in the theaters this month, so that was fun. Catch me if you can. Steven Spielberg just continues to prove why he is one of the best filmmakers out there, creating masterpiece upon masterpiece. He put out one of his best films, Minority Report, going to shamelessly plug my video on it, in the same year as Catch Me If You Can, and both are triumphs in cinematic storytelling. This film is a cop and robber story, but instead of a robber, it's about the cops attempting to catch a check forger, played brilliantly by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's being hunted down by a cop, played marvelously by Tom Hanks. Some of my favorite shots in the film are the ones with the framing as such, where a gun is the main character, guiding the camera and its movements. It's very reminiscent of old noir crime movies, where Spielberg clearly draws his inspiration from. The way it uses the camera to creatively execute moments of suspense as well as comedy is a work of pure genius, one of the best films from the 2000s. La La Land. I will never get tired of this movie. Every rewatch simply amazes me to the point where it makes me want to get out there, take out a camera, and make a movie myself. I will never understand how Damien Chazelle was able to create such a cinematic masterpiece. It's a film about dreams and ambitions and the consequences we have to face, and the hard moral choices we have to make in order to achieve what we truly want. Also, every single song in this film is memorable and just right. The filmmaking is bold. The camera work matches the energy and tone of the two characters. The colors are vibrant and lively. It uses editing to cut between dreams and reality. Just one of my favorite movies ever made and one of the best from the last decade. Mindhunter. I watched both seasons of this show, and I have to say this is definitely some of the best TV that I have seen. Some of the episodes are directed by David Fincher, and even in the ones that he didn't, you can tell his signature filmmaking trademarks, which keeps the tone of the show consistent. The series is about a new behavioral science unit in the FBI, where our main characters, FBI agents, interview many criminals who have been convicted of violent crimes to try and understand their psychology and using that to create a profile to assist in being able to solve crimes in the future. The main crux of the series is just people sitting and talking, which can get stale if not handled correctly. But the choice of framing and the seamless and meticulous editing demands your attention. Fincher's painstakingly controlled filmmaking is evident in many scenes. Even the slightest of camera movements, the timing of a cut, or the staging of the characters visually showcase a clash of power dynamics, all through the use of great visual storytelling. We learn a lot about serial killers and their thought process, what drives them, what happened in their childhoods. This is a disturbing show considering the gruesome subject matter it explores. But what I love about it is the fact that most of the violent acts the killers commit aren't shown but spoken about, which leaves us to imagine everything being said, which is also much more mentally challenging than it simply being shown to us. Clearly, this small video isn't enough to talk about how complex and great this show is, but this is certainly masterful work. We need season 3 right now. Matrix Resurrections. The original Matrix is one of my favorite films, and its other two sequels did not live up to the mark. But I'm in the minority when saying that I think Matrix Resurrections is a refreshing return to the franchise. Instead of it feeling like a soulless cash grab that redoes beats from the original for nostalgia's sake, it feels like a story that respects the first film and is meta in the sense that it knows about the cultural impact of its story and characters, and uses this to critique the nature of studio mandated filmmaking. Keanu brings back the charm of Neo as a man who's finding his way in the world and getting exposed to new and unbelievable concepts. The film cuts between dreams and reality to get us into the headspace of the main character. And despite the climax feeling a little bit of a noisy mess, its internal conflict is rooted in character, which had me engaged. Upon rewatch, some of its flaws become more evident, and I get why quite a few people don't like the film. And maybe it's just Matrix bias, but I just love the film. And I'm really glad that Lana Wachowski got to continue the story of the Matrix, and I think that this is a satisfactory continuation to the franchise. So yeah, these are my thoughts on my favorite films that I've seen this month, in the month of April. And comment below your thoughts on the films that I talked about or your own favorite films that you watched in April. Subscribe, like and share, and check out the other videos on the channel if you're interested. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.